All right, we would like to welcome you to the first ever Thoughtful Thursday on May 7th of 2020. We are so glad that you were able to join us today. This is a series of lessons coming to you from the Indiana 4-H Civic Engagement Team, and we are very excited to be able to share this with you today. My name is Steve McKinley. I'm a 4-H Extension Specialist here at Purdue University, and I'm pleased today to have a couple of great presenters with us that we'll introduce here in just a moment. If you've not had a chance yet to click on the participation link or to type that in or copy that and move that to your browser, we would appreciate that. That will get a chance for us to know you a little bit better. Will also get us a chance to share information with you after this session and also some information about upcoming events that we have here in Indiana for 4-H, including some leadership opportunities that young people might like to take advantage of. Couple of tips for us as we keep things moving today is to keep your microphone muted during the presentation. That's going to help prevent some noise in the background that we don't need. If you find that you're having a little bit of trouble staying connected, if you turn off your video, that will likely help with some of your connection issues. Feel free to ask questions of us in the chat box. We'll be happy to try to ask those as we go or answer those as we go throughout the program. And as always with our 4-H program, we're going to be respectful and considerate of others. And just a reminder that we are moderating and monitoring this program, and it is being recorded. So again, we're so glad that you could join us today. We are very excited for the 4-H members that are with us, those of you who've had 4-H participation in the past. We also recognize that there's probably some of you that have not had a 4-H experience before. So very briefly, I want to give you a couple of highlights about what we are in 4-H. This is a nationally based program. It's designed for students in grades 3 through 12, and nationwide there's over 6 million participants in the 4-H program. A number of opportunities that are available to you to give you hands-on opportunities to learn skills and have experiences that will help you throughout your lifetime, whether you're in school or beyond. We're very excited to be able to offer that to you. In Indiana, Purdue University is the coordinator of the 4-H program. And within each of our counties, there's a 4-H extension educator that works for Purdue University in that county and works with the 4-H volunteers, hundreds of volunteers, to help put on an outstanding 4-H program for our young people. There's over 60 different subject areas that you can choose from to learn about. Those are typically categorized in 3 primary mission areas. We have healthy living, we have science, and then today's programming on civic engagement and leadership. If you'd like to learn more about the program, there's a link here to our Indiana 4-H website. Would encourage you to visit that at your leisure. I mentioned this is the first of 4 scheduled Thoughtful Thursday programs from the 4-H Civic Engagement Team. Today, can't we all just get along? Wouldn't that be nice? Next week, we're going to talk about ethics. Is it ethical? Then we're going to help you to define your legacy, what that means for you and others that you work with. Looking at patriotism and you. And then again, each of those programs will be held from 3 to 4 p.m. on Thursdays throughout the month of May. If you'd like to see some of the resources that go along with these programs, both today and throughout the rest of the month, they are located there at the link on your screen. We have a 4-H and civic engagement page from our volunteer tab of the Indiana 4-H website. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's presenters that are going to be able to present to you some outstanding information. So we're looking forward to having them join us. 2 of our civic engagement team members. Kati Sweet is a Hendricks County 4-H extension educator. Kati has been with us for several years, and we're very glad to have her today. And presenting with her, Mr. Doug Keenan from Noble County, Indiana, in the northeast corner of the state. He is 4-H extension educator and county extension director. So with that, Kati and Doug, I will let you take over the mouse if you choose, and you can go for the program.
Thanks, Steve. I think I'm in control of the screen now. Awesome.
All right, Katie's taking control of things, and it's a little scary, everybody, but we'll get along fine.
Well, welcome. We are super excited to have you guys with us today. We're going to be talking about conflict resolution, and some of the objectives we have for you today is we'd like to be able to distinguish among 3 stages of conflict today we're going to talk about, and we'd like to be able to demonstrate some methods to resolve conflict, especially related to those 3 stages.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have a little interesting conflict. Kati and I are. Don't freak out, everybody. We're really good friends, but we're going to show you. And as we're going through this conflict, be thinking about what could have been done differently. All right, so here we go. Hey, Katie, what's the deal with that new kid, Bob, in our school?
I don't know. I mean, I like Bob. I think he's kind of cool.
I don't think so, man. He just kind of got the dirty clothes all the time and kind of rough looking. What's going on with him?
Well, now, Doug, that's not very nice. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have a shower, or maybe he just doesn't like to shower. You just, need to mind your own business.
Yeah, I just heard that him and his mom, they live in that women's shelter over there, and he has to do his e-learning at the library. Doesn't even have internet.
And what does that matter to you, Doug? That shouldn't matter to you. That is not any of your business. You need to just, be quiet.
Well, I suppose you're probably even friends in Facebook with him.
Yes, we chat all the time. I helped him with his homework last week. You just, you know what? You're being really mean and kind of a jerk, and I'm just done talking to you. I'm just gonna leave. I'm out. I'm walking away.
Fine, princess. Maybe I'll unfriend you on my Facebook.
Whatever, Doug. Whatever. So, like
okay,
Doug said,
guys.
we are good friends. We know that situation could have been handled a lot differently. So we would like to know, actually, before we kind of address that, what kind of conflicts have you guys had, or do you handle? Steve, I'm trying to click your screen and it's not letting me. Sorry. There we go. So there are different types of conflict that we're involved with every day. We would like you guys to take a minute or two and maybe type something out in the chat box as to types of conflict you have experienced. It could be with your friends, maybe on a team. Just what types of conflict have you had to deal with? And as we work through this, we're going to give you like a minute to do that.
A minute to win it? Is that the deal?
Right. Steve, will they type to you, or will they be sharing with the group? I just want to make sure I know how the chat's working today.
I think we should all be able to see it.
Okay.
Oh, so they're just being shy,
yet.
Are they?
I know some of these people, they are not shy.
Oh, okay.
So Doug and I have argued, we were arguing about a person that maybe goes to our school. Maybe you've had arguments with friends. Maybe you've had conflict over what to get for supper or eat for supper. Somebody said their neighbor they've had conflict with.
That can happen, sure.
Yeah, when they chat, they're going to chat directly to one of the three of us, and then we'll be able to share back. There's a good one. When somebody steals my fruit snacks, absolutely, that's a problem. I would agree.
Don't mess with my fruit snacks.
Other leaders, or maybe at work, there's some conflict. A sister, siblings, maybe you've had
definitely,
siblings.
Yes.
Sometimes it's your friend.
All right. Well, we are going to, I'm going to try and keep this moving.
Oh, even Grammy, huh?
There are lots of types of conflict as you guys are typing out. There we go. But conflict, believe it or not, is actually normal. And it's going to happen in one shape or another. Several of you that are in 4-H, you guys might have conflict with a judge's decision. Maybe you don't necessarily agree with that, red ribbon that you received at the fair. Maybe you really thought that you deserved a blue ribbon. No matter where you are or what you're doing, there's bound to be conflict of some sort. Whether some of it is obvious that it's there, and sometimes it's more of an underlying conflict. There are two main types of conflict. One is an internal conflict, which is a disturbance that's within you. So sometimes, have you ever thought to yourself, you know, I should do this, or maybe I should do this? Again, I'm a food person. I like food. So sometimes the conflict is, you know, do I really want pizza for supper, or would no, I really am feeling more like a hamburger type thing. That's something, you know, maybe I can have within myself. Or, you know, it's simple as, what do I want to get done first today? Do I actually want to sit down and send that email, or maybe I want to work on another project instead? Those aren't necessarily bad conflicts, but it's something that is making me think about how I want to go forward. Interpersonal conflict is between two or more individuals. So Doug and I had a conflict that we were verbalizing to each other. Conflict doesn't necessarily have to be totally vocal either. I said that I walked away, and that might dig into the conflict that we're having. That might even create more conflict if I'm just gonna stop what I'm doing and walk away from Doug as we're having a conversation. And once you realize there's conflict, though, you should be able to work to resolve the issue. And there's, again, the interpersonal or internal. Let me make sure my clicker is working. There's different ways to handle those. Hold on, guys. My screen's lagging. Sorry. We'll get there. So again, remember, conflict is normal and it may not be easy to deal with. There's going to be different ways you can handle it. But a couple of tips we want to give you guys as we start to think about conflict, and we're going to go into the 3 stages of conflict. We want you to remember it's normal to have conflict, but you need to make sure you keep your temper in check. So Doug and I were getting a little heated. You know, we could have said a lot of mean things to each other. I walked away. That was a way maybe that I could keep my temper in check. We need to make sure we are open-minded. My screen's lagging a little bit again. Sorry, guys. So this is really hard to do sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment in conflict, but make sure you're being open-minded and considering both sides. Listen to others, whether that's the other person you're talking with, or maybe that means seeking out advice from other people. Cool off if needed. So I have a almost 3-year-old at home, and a conflict that we face every day is sometimes even, you know, making sure that he can put his pants on. So we have the conflict of making sure that I think he needs to have pants and he doesn't think he needs to have pants. So there are times where we both have to cool off. He gets to go play for a little bit and I step away, and you know what? I just take a breather and remember, this is how we're going to handle the situation.
That's an internal conflict for me, putting pants on.
Right. Keep your voice calm. There is a big difference. So again, Doug and I were talking, our voices were getting raised, and you could tell that we were getting upset with each other in our sample conflict. There's a lot of ways that your calming voice can actually help the situation. So remaining calm and not getting worked up, work towards a fair solution. And sometimes that means that not everybody's going to get their way exactly how they want. Refrain from putting down others involved. So again, you know, Doug and I were arguing, and I was saying he was being mean, and we were kind of calling each other names. That can hurt each other's feelings, and it could also lead to some of the other things that we don't want to have happen, such as raised tempers, arguments, your voice is getting raised. We just want to make sure that when you're dealing with conflict, that you can take control of the situation. Include all those involved in the discussion. So the example Doug and I were talking about, we had Bob, who was a kid in our school that Doug didn't really like, but maybe I had befriended. You know, maybe it's something where I could have invited Doug to hang out with Bob when we were working on homework, and Doug could maybe see a different side of Bob. Everybody doesn't know everybody's stories, right? Everybody has a story to share, and sometimes we need to be understanding of what that other person's story is. And it's coming. There's more coming. So when you guys have dealt with conflict, you guys had mentioned some stuff in the chat box, people that you have had conflict with. How did you resolve that? Or if you maybe you've not really experienced a lot of conflict in your life, thinking back on how Doug and I were arguing, how could we have handled our situation better? Go ahead and we'll give you a minute or two to type some examples in the chat box, and we'll go over those and share some ideas of how we can handle and maybe resolve conflict. So Steve, Doug, if you guys see any pop up on yours, let me know.
I had an additional response on the type of conflict, and it's when my friend says Rush isn't the best band ever. So it might depend upon the type of music you like.
Or music choices, yeah.
The person that said they had a conflict with their neighbor, they actually moved away from the neighbor.
Wow. That was pretty drastic.
One way to handle conflict.
Yes.
We have had conflict within our office, and Doug's going to talk about the stages of conflict here next, but we've had conflict in our office before, and we've actually had to take time to talk through those types of things, making sure, going back to our little checklist here, that we were being open-minded, that, you know, we had time to cool off. We reminded each other that our office is a reflection of our organization, so we had to make sure that we were reminded of what our organization is for, the purpose we serve, and that we could work towards a fair solution in some of the arguments that we were having within our office. One person says, remain calm and stay mature. Don't let your emotions get ahead of you. We have a 4-H'er that said they talked with their mom on how to resolve the problem. Absolutely. So that's bringing, you know, maybe bringing some others into the conversation as needed.
Yes.
You know, other advice. Yep.
Excellent. Yes.
So one thing I like to do when we have conflict, so I mentioned the blue ribbon versus red ribbon. Sometimes that's a conflict you guys could face maybe in 4-H. You're upset at a decision maybe a judge made, or Doug and I both as educators have had to handle been involved in some conflict related to maybe judging outcomes or things that have happened at the fair. One situation that I like to, or one thing that I really like to do when I have to deal with conflict is trying to remain as positive as possible. I think positivity gets us a lot more places than negativity. So reminding everybody what the mission of 4-H is and that we're here to serve our youth sometimes helps when those conversations get heated, especially with adults during fair, because adults are very passionate about, you know, their kids having a good experience in 4-H, and so are we. So we want to make sure all of our 4-Hers are having a good time, and we try and do our best to remain calm, keep our voices low, make sure that we're working towards that fair solution as well.
An important thing in any kind of conflict is to listen to the other person. You might see them as your enemy or adversary, but really they're just another person. And you need to listen completely to them. Sometimes we're already formulating our response or our reaction before we've even heard the person all the way through. So it's always important to listen carefully to the other person and to hear their side of the story.
Katie, you have a good answer here that I think you might like. The best way to resolve this conflict is by addressing the conflict and understanding that people sometimes just need a refresh and stay level-headed.
A refresh, I like that, yeah.
That's a good one, yeah. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Doug now. So we have talked about types of conflict that you guys have experienced, how to maybe handle some of those conflicts, and there are 3 stages that sort of conflict can escalate to. So Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, that's great. And Steve, I'll let you do the clicking if you don't mind. And we'll start off with stage one. Stage one are the everyday difficulties that we face in life. And these things happen pretty much every day. These are the things that often happen right in your own home. This is, you've been in the bathroom for 20 minutes. It's time to get out. Or mom says, I've told you 3 times to take the trash out. And it's these kind of everyday conflicts that we have. They're kind of not that big of a deal kind of things. And it's something that probably you'll be okay with. And I'll use an example through all 3 stages here. Katie and I are wanting to get supper, and we're brother and sister this time. And I want pizza, and Katie wants tacos. So in the stage 1 here of an everyday difficulty, it's going to get time for supper, and they've asked us, mom and dad asked what we wanted, and I said pizza, and Katie said tacos. And so at this level, I might say, well, I had pizza a couple of days ago, so I'm going to just, let's go ahead and have tacos. And so I might just oblige that way and avoid a scene here by just saying, okay, let's just do tacos since we had pizza a couple of nights ago. So these are the easy things, and we can see both sides. Sure, I like pizza, but I also know that my sister Katie, that she likes tacos. And so since I'm a nice brother, I'm going to say, okay, let's go with the tacos tonight. And maybe we'll have pizza the next night. So that kind of thing can happen. And it's really important at this stage to take a step back and say, is this really a big deal? Am I making this a bigger deal than it needs to be? So that's kind of our stage 1. Not a big deal, everyday life kind of things. It's my turn to wash the dishes, but I want to go play basketball. So I need to go ahead and wash the dishes first and then go play basketball. Those kind of things are what we're talking about in this stage 1. Everyday things, we can go along with them. We can just ignore if it's not a big deal and just carry on with life. So that's kind of our stage 1, everyday kind of things that we face. So now we'll move on to stage 2. Now stage 2, now we're starting to get a little sticky here. Now it's getting personal. Now we're gonna say, I wanna win this time. I'm not gonna be so easygoing this time. We're starting to pick sides here, and I'm gonna say something like, oh, Katie, you always get your way. You always get to pick what we have for supper. I want pizza, and I want pizza tonight. So I'm going to be taking a stand this time, and I want to have my way this time. And it's not going to be quite so easy that way. And then Katie's going to remember that if I happen to win this time, and our parents say, okay, we're having pizza, Katie's going to remember that, and she's going to bring that back to me next week sometime. This is where in school, we're getting a little more intense here. This is where we're starting to form our different cliques that we have. And this is where we have the jocks, and we've got the band geeks, and we've got the artsy people, and we've got the regular geeks, and we've got the ones that cause trouble all the time. And we're starting to divide up, and you'll see this in your high school. It happens in our high schools here in Noble County. And everybody starts getting divided up in these different ways. And we're starting to have these concerns now about, you're not in my group, so I can't talk to you. So in these kind of situations, as things get a little hotter here, and we want to win, and we want to save face here, we want to be careful that way in our lives, and we're worried about ourselves and not anybody else. In those kind of situations, it's helpful if somebody can come in and create a safer environment to step away into a different situation to get out of the heat of the moment. And it's important here to deal with the facts. Katie and I, when we were arguing earlier, we were getting into this matter of calling names, and I was calling Bob names, and she was getting upset with me for calling names, and we need to deal with the facts. Like she said, Bob's a good guy, I like him, I was helping him with some homework, those kind of things. And it's important to stay together, and even if you can change the arrangement even, you can put a jock next to a band geek, next to a regular geek, next to one of the important people in school, whatever they are, and just kind of make people be together that normally would not be together is very helpful in this stage 2, to kind of break things up that way so you're not all together in these sides, that we choose up these sides. If you can break that down, it's a helpful thing in stage 2 here. So Katie and I want pizza and Katie wants tacos, and now I'm gonna win and I want my pizza, and that's all there is to it. And Katie wants to win, so she wants her tacos. So we're in kind of a stalemate now, and it's gonna be hard. So I'm gonna be pushing my way to get the pizza this time and not go along with her. So it gets a little sticky in this situation. So one place we might be able to go, if Katie wants her tacos for sure, I want my pizza for sure, maybe we get a taco pizza. So we find some middle ground that we can work at. And that way we can both be satisfied. I won because I got pizza. She won because she got a taco on her pizza. So we can have a win-win situation there in this middle ground that we can find sometimes in stage 2. Now, if we go to the next step in stage 3, now things are really getting hot. Now I want to do some damage. I want to hurt Katie. She is my sister and I love her, but this time I'm getting so mad, I just want to do some damage. So we shift from wanting to win to wanting to hurt somebody, to do some damage this time. And we want to be right and we want to punish the other person. Right? And positions are completely polarized now. All right, we're starting to really divide up this time. And the bad part about this stage is there's no reasoning anymore. There's no reasoning anymore. This is when Katie says, I'm out of here, I'm done with you. And I said, okay, I'm gonna unfriend you on Facebook. So we've tried to hurt each other, right? She's avoiding me and I'm gonna be trying to hurt her by taking her off of my friend as a Facebook person, and we're starting to do that. So logic and reason have gone out the window now. So we're going to need help this time. We're going to need help this time. In our pizza and taco argument, now I say things like to Katie is, you're such a loser. Only losers eat tacos. And Katie says, well, you just always want pizza all the time because you can't think of anything else. You don't have much imagination. So we're starting to call each other names and it's getting a little nasty. So Dad steps in this time. Now we've got a mediator. Now we're going to have an arbitration here. And Dad steps in. He says, look, you two, you're brother and sister. You love each other. We're a family here. We take care of things as a family, and we're going to get along as a family, and we're going to work this thing out together as a family. So then we have this third person comes in to help in this situation because me and Katie are not going to get through this by ourselves. So sometimes in these situations, this is why we have principals and vice principals and resource officers in our schools to help when things get to this stage, when things get really heated, and they need to come in and help us to work through these kinds of things. So that's the 3 stages, as you can see. Stage 1, it's going to be all right. It's everyday kind of thing. Stage 2, we're starting to draw up sides and we want to win. In stage 3, we want to do some damage. We're not going to be satisfied. We're going to try to hurt the other person because they're the enemy now. So Steve, that's kind of the 3 stages of conflict that we have and some different strategies that we can look to work through these different levels of conflict that we have.
And all of the things that we talked about a little bit ago about resolving conflict, so remaining calm, making sure you're open-minded, still play a big factor in the different stages. And the examples you guys gave were great too, a great addition on those ways to resolve conflict. And what we're going to do next is we're actually going to break out into sessions. And because there's not a ton of people on this call, Doug and I sort of planned that if there was a bunch of people, we could do the full 10-minute breakout sessions. I don't think Doug, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we necessarily need 10 minutes with a smaller amount. So we're going to do 5 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to break out into 3 different breakout sessions. Each session is going to have a stage of conflict that they're going to look over, and we need you as a group to come up with 1 or 2 examples. Maybe they could be real examples or examples that you just create of a conflict in that situation, in that stage, and maybe how to resolve that conflict, the best way to handle that.
Absolutely. It can be something real, or it can be something that we make up, like Katie and I have been doing.
Yep. So Steve's going to take one group and talk about stage 1, which is the everyday difficulties. I'm going to be involved in the stage 2, which are the significant difficulties. And Doug gets to handle the tough ones, which are our overt battles regarding conflict. And I think Steve is going to divide out the groups.
We are divided, so I will open the breakout rooms. We'll have about 5 minutes then within those breakout rooms. And once you get there, we'll start discussing the topics about different types of conflict. So thank you, Katie and Doug. Here we go. Let's move into, while Katie works on her mic a second, let's go to the everyday difficulties. And I think Ellie is going to share an example that we talked about in breakout room number 1. So Ellie, if you want to unmute yourself, or maybe I need to do that for you. Let's see. There you go. Go for it, Ellie.
So we talked about just like some normal day conflicts that we all have, whether that's like who gets to ride in the front seat of the car, or which way the toilet paper roll goes, like over or under, or like when your siblings come into your room. And I know for me, definitely when my siblings come into my room, it makes me a little bit frustrated, but I just try and remain calm and just ask them kindly to not come in next time or to knock before entering.
So Ellie, does it work?
Over the top, by the way, with the toilet paper, not under, it's over.
Thank you, Doug. All right, Ellie, thank you for that. Katie, I'd like you to take number 2 here.
Okay, I'll ask anybody in my group if they would like to chat about what we shared. We had a quiet group. I did do a lot of talking. I did have some Hendricks County kids in there too, so. If not, an example we gave was sports teams. Sometimes sports, being on a sports team or being a fan of a sports team can get pretty intense and have that win-lose attitude. And it's definitely somewhat of a personal investment, especially if you're a diehard fan. Victories and mistakes are definitely remembered for some of our sports teams. And so those alliances and cliques are our fans that our sports teams experience as well. So sports. And Molly raised her hand just now. She did give some examples in our group too. Can she share as well? Okay. Do we have to unmute her, Steve?
We had one when you are falsely accused of something you did not do. Ooh. And trying to handle it in the best way possible, and not to say something to hurt the other person or make more issues than there already are, and state the facts and to just calmly tell them, you know, that you didn't do that.
Very good.
That definitely gets into the personal area, yes, being falsely accused. Good example.
Okay, Doug, what'd your group have to say?
Okay, stage 3. Any of you brave people in our overt battles out there? Just jump right in. We had one example was family members not wanting to share, and how that can get pretty ugly, and somebody takes something from another family member and maybe steals it or is very deceptive about it. Oh, I don't know where that went. And those kind of things could happen. Another example was in the lunchroom, and that can be definitely a heated place to be, is a lunchroom where they're dividing up. And you can't sit at my table because this is where the cool kids sit, and you can't sit here because you're not cool. And so that kind of conflict can come up pretty easily in the lunchroom. And we talked about how it's important to have arbitrators in situations like that. The teachers, principals can step in, and these young people can actually be the arbitrators many times and get in and help out with these kind of conflicts and be that third person, that third party that can help to break up that overt battle that's going on, and be that person that steps in and have that kind of leadership.
All right, so now you guys have learned a little bit about what conflict is. You've learned some ways to maybe handle the types of conflict you may face. We do have a quiz for you. Don't worry though, it is not graded. Steve is going to pull up a poll, and we would just like you guys to take the next 30 seconds or so and answer these questions. There's 2 questions you should see pop up. The first is, a mediator is a third-party person who works with both sides of a conflict to come to an agreement. And the second one is, conflict can be constructive. So these are true or false. If you just take a couple seconds and answer those for us.
It's like they're doing pretty well.
Yes, I like that. They're on it.
Hope that's the right answers.
So while they're finishing up, a mediator is a third-party person who works with both sides. So you see this a lot of times, maybe in court, maybe sometimes you need this. So Doug gave the example of someone coming in because if Doug and I were brother and sister arguing about what we want for supper, a mediator might come in and say, hey, you know what, have you thought about this, or this, and can see both sides and maybe help us come to an agreement, which would be our, taco pizza. And conflict can be constructive. Yep, it can be constructive. There are times where sometimes conflict is necessary, and conflict can bring out different sides of a situation. But we need to make sure we go back to those things that we talked about on how to handle conflict. Make sure you're keeping your facts straight. Make sure you're still communicating and not just shutting down. Make sure you're talking through things. Doug, was there anything else you wanted to add to those?
Well, think about how boring it would be if we were all the same, and it's good to have differences of opinion, and we can have different ideas, and through the different ideas, we can come to a greater solution sometimes. And so sharing, instead of just agreeing all the time, can be helpful.
Here comes your second set of questions.
So you've got 2 more questions on your screen. Which of the following is not a characteristic of stage 2, which were the significant difficulties? And list 3 things that you need to be sure you do when dealing with conflict.
Looks like maybe I didn't do question number 2 quite correctly.
A little bit harder question. That's okay. That's okay.
I think your screen might look different than what we see, Steve. I don't know.
Are you seeing answers?
No.
Yeah, me either. That's okay. We can look at the first question instead.
Yeah, it's okay. We can still talk about the second one. Which of the following is not a characteristic of stage 2? The correct answer We will give in just a minute. I see a couple people are still working on maybe voting. But if you, they can't type the answers. So if you want to type answers into the chat box, you're more than welcome to. But we will also go over them too.
Sorry about that, guys. My fault.
We're still all working to learn Zoom. See, and sometimes you have conflict with technology.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Looks like several of them chose shift from wanting to win to wanting to hurt, which is true. That gets you to the stage 3 when you want to do some damage, when you want to hurt somebody.
Yep.
That's a stage 3 characteristic.
And if you wanted to type some stuff in the second question, 3 things you could be sure you do when dealing with conflict. A couple things might be keep your temper in check, be open-minded, listen to others, cool off when needed, keep a calm voice, work towards a fair solution, refrain from putting down others, and include all of those involved in the discussion. And again, you guys came up with several other examples when we went through that as well. Making sure to make mature and thought out decisions, stay calm, don't get mad, and stay positive. We're in the chat box as well. And is that all of our questions, Steve?
That's it.
Okay. So we're going to open it up now we just have a couple minutes left. If anybody has questions, hopefully as you guys go through your day-to-day and deal with whatever conflicts that may come your way, you can remember a couple of those tricks. One other thing that I really like to do, especially when I can feel myself getting frustrated, is to practice some deep breathing. So going into that cool down phase, making sure, you know, before you raise your voice, maybe counting to 5, counting backwards from 5, taking a deep breath, and then reacting. And Doug said earlier, you know, a lot of conflict happens when we don't listen and we're just sitting there formulating how we're going to respond instead of actually listening to the person. So taking a step back, taking a deep breath also makes you have that time to listen and decompress what that other person is saying as well. So you can type in the chat box any questions you might have, or raise your hand and we can unmute you.
And while they're thinking about that, let me go ahead, if you're okay with that, sharing a couple of upcoming things that are going to be happening. We have several things that are for students in your age grade level, so we'd encourage you to think about these in addition to the Thoughtful Thursdays that are coming up the next 3 Fridays. We also have a 4-H civic engagement workshop that Doug, Katie, and I helped to put on. That's going to be held on the afternoons of Wednesday, June 10 and Thursday, June 11th, and then Friday morning, June the 12th. So more information will be coming about that, but a chance to talk to some state and local government officials and find out how they do their job and some of the challenges that they face in their role. We'll have a chance for you to think about a local issue that you would like to address, and then we'll be giving you a chance to ask some questions of those individuals to be able to find out what the answers might be, how you could work to resolve that issue in your local community. And we'll also talk about some different international opportunities that are out there for you when you move beyond high school and get into college and or to the workforce, and talk with some people that have worked and lived around the world and have some really cool experiences to share with us. The State 4-H Junior Leader Conference this year is going to be on June 16, 17, and 18. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 3 until 6 p.m. each day. We'll have lots of good information that you can take back and learn for yourself, but also things that you can share with others your age that you might like to use in kind of a mentor role. And then we also have on Tuesday, the 16th, at 4 o'clock, we have Craig Tornquist. He is going to be our keynote speaker. He's also a comedian, and he's going to talk about leadership and laughter. And I think that's something we all could use these days. So we're looking forward to having Craig with us on that Tuesday afternoon. Each of those, again, will be 3 to 6 p.m. State Band and Chorus, stay tuned for that. There's some plans in the works, and Tony's working on those. He'll have that information to you soon. For our 4-H Roundup this year, we're actually moving it into May. Michael Cuestas is our keynote speaker. He does an outstanding job of talking with students and with adults, and he's going to be with us. He's got lots of good humor involved, but also a really good message that you'd like to hear. And so that's going to be on Wednesday, May the 20th, from 3 to 4 in the afternoon, and then following up on Thursday, May the 21st, he's going to do a separate seminar for us right after the Thankful Thursday that day, from 5 to 6 in the evening. So would encourage you to think about those different opportunities. Leslie, are you available to open up your mic and share with us a preview of next week's Thoughtful Thursday? Surprise, I didn't prep you for that ahead of time. Let me try to unmute you here. Maybe. There we go. Now, Leslie, try it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, so next week we'll be talking about ethics and giving you a little bit of an outline of how to make ethical decisions, and we'll be looking at everyday scenarios that you go through and how that might be related to ethics. But then we're going to flip it and look at ethics in the media and how you can really look at what's going on in our world, what the media is feeding you, and figure out what's right, what's wrong.
Excellent. We're looking forward to that one, Leslie. Thank you so much for that. As we wrap up today, Doug and Katie, any final comments that you would like to make?
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for participating. We haven't had this opportunity before to do this virtually, but we're glad that you were able to join us, and we hope you learned a few different tips as you go through your situations in life and have your conflicts. Remember that they're natural. Don't be afraid of them, but work through them the best you can. Katie?
Ditto to what Doug said. We were really excited. Doug and I were this is the first Thoughtful Thursday, so we were the test subjects. And so thank you for dealing with us with our technology stuff and just being here today. And hopefully you walk away with something that you can take with you and learn from in the future too. Thank you.
And on that note, Katie, good segue. You'll see two links that are on the final slide that we have to share with you. We would really appreciate if you take just a couple of minutes. There are two questions for you. We'd like to know what it is that you have learned from today that you might be able to use in the future. And I think the other one is, which session did you attend, so we can know for sure. But the purdue.ag/4H Thoughtful Thurs 2 will be that survey for you. If you didn't get a chance to do the participation survey at the beginning, that is the link that ends with the number 1. That just tells us information about you. Include your email address so that we can share information about the program with you and future opportunities that may be coming up. So we'd encourage you to take a moment to fill that one out for us as well. So we'll keep that screen up here for a few moments. Again, really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for your time and hope you found it to be successful or a successful program for you, and wish you the best throughout the rest of this week, and hope you can join us again with some friends next week at our Thoughtful Thursday on May the 14th.